Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tussock Talks podcast. I've done that a few times, haven't I? If you're a regular listener of the pod, you know that the sound is probably a little bit better in this place compared to what we're used to. We are in a cool little studio, myself and Luke, and we are going to talk about a interesting topic because one of our most listened to episodes was about being a man, masculinity, and I felt like Luke would be a good guest to talk about this. Posted something online about it. I think I messaged you.
Yeah.
Do you know what you posted?
After the podcast with James, no?
Was it?
The attractive man thing? Was that?
I can't remember what it was. I feel like it was something to do with Chris Williamson, though.
It was probably from that podcast then, yeah.
It might have been.
So myself and Mr. Hempton were...
Yeah, the main man.
Oh, the big fella.
But we're going to just have a conversation, have a chat about it. Again, I think, like I said, me and Kieran had a good chat, and I think Luke will be another voice. I just want to start by saying, obviously, as a man, if there are things that trigger you in this episode, and I'm going to leave some like websites and numbers and stuff in the description, just because, again, I think that's probably the first step in, if you are struggling, a little reach out to someone, whether it be online, whether it be a phone number, whether it be whoever, is probably one of the first steps. So I'm going to leave them in the description. But I have a quote, or not a quote really, but Chris Williamson talked about this, about how suicide rates among men under 30 have risen by 40% since 2010 and are 4 times higher than young women. Why do you think that's the case?
It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one. I don't know, there's a lot of guys killing themselves, isn't there? And that sounds blunt, but there's a lot of young men, under 30, under 40, under 40s even young, taking their own lives. And it's a real epidemic. I don't really know why or what's going on, but I think it's a bit of a loneliness epidemic as well. There's a lot of guys that don't have any friends, which is insane.
Yeah.
And I think, as we were just discussing, we grew up with team sports, that kind of community. And then maybe that gave us more of a, first of all, friends and people that we spend time with and discuss things with, but also that just opened us to almost a brotherhood. Because when you're playing team sports, football for both of us, it is a brotherhood, and you're out in the pitch and you give everything for the lads, you know? And I think for me, that's carried across to the rest of my life and my friend group and how I kind of behave with the boys as such. But a lot of people don't have that.
Do you think that's, let's say at 16 when football finishes for a lot of people, do you think that change from brotherhood, fighting for each other, to nothing is the reason why? Obviously the boys will still have their mates in school or whatever, and maybe their mates are doing things that they don't really want to do. That complete change over that, you know, you're all striving for the same goal. You're all trying to win a game. And when that finishes, you don't really have anything else.
That shared goal kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. And I think even with school, like your school lads, like I had a really big group in school growing up. Some of them I still talk to, some of them I don't. But we all kind of, like in school, you're kind of placed, you just happen to be together. Like there was 200 people in our year in Scalisa. And we had a group, maybe 12, 15 lads come and go over the 6 years. But that kind of shared goal with the football is something that kind of really brings you all together. You want to win cups, you want to win the league, you want to win big matches, whatever it is. Whereas in school, like, what's the shared goal? Get loads of girls, you know, drink as many cans as you can, and like be the coolest fella, have the freshest tracksuit. I don't really know if there's a...
Well, it probably is that. There's probably some sort of hierarchy, in the sense that, you know, you have your group of lads and you think you're better than the other group of lads.
Oh, big time.
And again, it's kind of that primal instinct of, you know, like, yeah, we're maybe not trying to beat them, but we're trying to be better than them, maybe to get the girls, or
to be cooler. But
you know?
Even like in areas like, say, all my Malahide lads, we just kind of dislike the Portmarnock lads for no real reason. And one of my cousins was, you know, Mark, he was mates with all the Porto boys. But we'd be like, oh, fuck those lads. Like, we'd be like, oh, like, we get their girls, you know, we get the Porto girls out with us and kind of take their group as such.
So,
you know?
primal.
Like, assert dominance over these little 16-year-old boys. Yeah. But it is, you kind of, like, there's no real end goal with that. You're just trying to be cool, but no one really tells you what cool is as well.
Yeah.
No one really defines that. Whereas as you grow up, you're able to kind of define your own cool and pick what you want to be good at and pick what you want to focus on. But when you're 16 to 20,
do you think people are not willing to find their own cool? They're okay with staying the same cool as what they've been their whole life. You know what I mean?
Like even I'm 23 and there's a lot of lads that I know that are still doing the same stuff that we were doing when we were 16, 17. And it's not cool anymore. Like you've been doing it for 7 years. You're doing the same shit, you know? You kind of have to put yourself outside of what you know, outside your comfort zone, and just try different things and see what you actually like, instead of what is the social norm of like what people think is cool, I guess.
I think people are scared of that though.
People are scared to jump out and try different things for fear of judgment.
Yeah.
You know? Like even, like say playing tennis wouldn't have been a cool thing in our friend group. Even if one of the lads was really good at tennis, we'd be like, playing tennis for it's football. Yeah. You have to be good at football. What are you talking about? You have to be strong. You have to be big. But tennis wasn't cool. Tennis is cool.
Tennis is real cool.
Yeah, tennis is a class sport. You know,
rich sport. Like
but like we just kind of as a group maybe just said, nah, that's not cool. And then anyone that did that, fucking loser.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing?
Yeah,
it's a waste of time with a racket. You know. Whereas now I couldn't care less what kind of sport people do.
But how did you get to that point though?
I don't know. You just kind of, as you grow up, you just make that decision. For us, it was just football. Football. We all played football, different years, different levels. But that was just and I think it's kind of a common thing in Ireland. Like the best footballers are like the coolest kids.
The Dons. I got away with a lot. To be fair, just in
you haven't stopped. You're still playing football.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. But it does. That is the thing, and I've noticed that, especially since I've started doing all the mad stuff that I do. I'm posting online and stuff. It's like initially that may be frowned upon, but I just do it because I actually enjoy it. That's what I want to do. And like, yeah, I may live my life a little differently than you, but I don't judge you for how you live your life. If you judge me for how I live my life, fair enough. Like, I don't really care. But I think a lot of young guys, especially, struggle with stepping outside the box because, like you said, fear of judgment, fear of people perceiving them differently. And I think that needs to change, to be honest. I think we need to start encouraging guys to be different and stop just being normal just because you're afraid of being different.
Putting yourself in a box.
Yeah. And I think people are, they're happy to sit still when there's so much of the world out there. Like, I'm so lucky that I got to see the world. Like, I've traveled so much just because of the nature of what I achieved in football. And to now have, obviously, when you leave Ireland and you leave the bubble, I always use the analogy of like, do you ever watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
When the dome is over Springfield?
Yeah.
That's what Ireland is like, I feel like. And when you step out of the bubble and you look back in and you go, wow, like everyone is the same.
Yeah.
Everyone does the same thing. Everyone goes to the pub. Everyone just lives that same life. And when you leave, it's kind of like you're frowned upon for leaving.
Yeah. The judgment is crazy. And
yeah.
even you say Ireland, like Malahide a bubble.
Yes.
Portmarnock's a bubble.
Yes.
You know, it's
Dublin is a
North
big bubble.
Dublin's a bubble, you know. And even like for me, I went to the institute for 5th and 6th year. Even that kind of,
I'd say so,
stepping out of what I was used to and hanging around with Southsiders now, which was completely new. That was a big step for me, but that taught me a lot about, you have to deal with different people in different ways. Like you don't talk to everyone the same way, and you don't talk to adults the same way as you talk to the lads, and younger people as you talk to the lads. You kind of have to put on almost different masks to deal with different people in the world. And the quicker you learn that, then the quicker you grow, really. But if you don't put yourself in that position where something's new and you're in a new school and you have to trek into town and there's all these different people and you're calling the teacher by their first name instead of miss and putting up your hand, like that really made me realize from a young age that adults are just normal people as well. Like, I wasn't scared of teachers in the institute, whereas in Scalisa I would have been. I'm just like, like they have authority or whatever. But then when I got to the interview, I was like, Paul, he's sound. You know, he's not this big scary character that's going to give out to me and shout. I was just like, nah, Paul's cool. I can chat to Paul like anyone, you know?
You understand that that's like, it's your initiative that will get you the grades. And it's the exact same in terms of like what you do in your life. No one's going to push you to do anything. I noticed that, like, no one cares about you.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day.
And no one's going to give out to you either.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, your mother, your father, maybe your siblings, they love you, but no one else gives a rat's because they're too busy focusing on their own problems.
Yeah.
I was going to say life, but more so problems. And like you said, when you went to the institute, when you went to Amsterdam, you had to learn how to speak to Dutch people.
Yeah, which are very different.
It's the exact same with me. I went over there and we had one American on our team. So there's me thinking, oh, like, I'm going to have to learn how to speak to the Americans.
To the Yanks, yeah.
I had Brazilians, I had Italians, I had Spanish kids that never spoke English before in their life. I don't know how they managed to get in the country.
Yeah.
And then you have to communicate with them. You have to tell them your goals. You have to tell them like everything about you. And they have to try tell you everything about them as well. It's like you're being thrown in the deep end. And again, I think when you do that, you learn so much about yourself as well. You learn about other people, but more so about yourself, I think.
Especially at a young age, I think it's important. Like I moved to Amsterdam when I was 19, straight after leaving cert. Well, ours got cancelled, but it's like I had no idea what I was doing. And it was only because I had this idea of moving to Amsterdam was kind of in the locker for a little while. And I just went through with it. It was July when I decided and I was moving over in August because the chaos leaving cert, no one knew it was cancelled, etc. And then it was only July because I had everything had my accommodation reserved and had my place in college, but I hadn't like pulled the trigger as such. And then I remember I was saying to my mum and dad, my mum and dad are really supportive, but my mum doesn't want me to go to Amsterdam. Are you mental? The first time I said it, she was like, sex, drugs, brazzers, party, everything. She was like, you'll go over there and lose the head, you know? But I went over for college. I went over because the university I was in is a good university and I wanted to do something different. I was just like, if I don't like it, I can always come back. And that was my kind of way of thinking. But it was only when I landed in Amsterdam. I'd never been to the Netherlands before, right? Hadn't even gone to visit. And I just landed and I was in the airport. I had my 20 kilo and my backpack or whatever. And I just landed because I hadn't even looked up where my accommodation was. I didn't even know where I was going. I was just like, get to Amsterdam. And then I got to the airport and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I've made a terrible decision. I don't know anyone. I didn't know a single person in the country. Didn't know Dutch. They all speak English. Yeah. But I was like, what am I doing? And then I got to student accommodation. And that was another thing. I was like, right, I'm in this big building with hundreds of other people, but I don't know any of them. I don't know who my roommates are going to be. I don't know what's going on. But just the fear, and that's me. I'd be confident in my own ability to go talk to people. But then this was something completely new, random people. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And then a week later, I had a job in a cafe that I was a baker for a little while. I don't know. Sylvia, my own boss, she said to me, did an interview. Her boyfriend at the time was Irish as well. And we were just chatting away and she was like, oh, do you want to start? I was like, yeah, sure thing. Start tomorrow. She was like, have you baked before? And I was like, no, I'll try it though. Sure, whatever. And just threw myself in there. So within a week, I'd moved country, met loads of new people, started a new job, doing a new thing. And then my degree started as well. What a week.
Think about how much you learned and grew in that 1 week.
Yeah. And then 3 months, it takes ages to adjust. Like, I don't know about you, I was homesick a little bit. Like, I was away for 3 months and then I came back for Christmas and it was still COVID and there was I still felt so tied here. I was so attached here. I was the only people I would chat to were the lads. And I'd sit on FaceTime and then you hang up and you're like, like, where's all my mates? Why did I leave my mates? Why did I leave my family? But I don't know, without that, like, I wouldn't be the person that I am, but have taken that leap and like, I recommend it to anyone. Yeah. Just move away, even if it's for a bit. Like, my brother's going away now. He's gone on to my older brother. He's gone to Bali.
Lovely.
And even a few months away, and then move somewhere else. If you don't like it, you can always come back. Having Ireland as your base is so solid.
We're very lucky.
Yeah, especially lucky. Where we live. Like, we're blessed, absolutely blessed. And if you have a decent family and you have some good friends, and that's your base. Like, my idea was, I have the lads and I have my family. That's always going to be there. So anything else is just a bonus. So I can go explore and go to Amsterdam and take a risk.
I think it's so important to leave, genuinely. And like I was saying as you, I left at 19. And I knew I was signing myself up for 4 years.
Yeah.
Because if I went and 2 weeks in told me, man, like,
I'm coming
I'm coming home, she would have said, no, you're not. Like, do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I knew 4 years and then decide. And to be honest, when I was going over at first, I was like, I'm here for good. Like, you know, I'm going to find a woman and marry her and get the green card. Like what every Irish lad thinks about.
You still do
it. Yeah, maybe we'll see. But there is so much of the world out there. And the only thing is, right, and we're kind of going a bit off topic, but again, this is just chat. Like, what's your opinions on Australia? I'll be very interested to hear this because my sister's going in a few weeks. And I'm so proud of her for doing it. Generally, I love the fact that
she's older or younger?
She's 2 years older.
Okay.
So I love the fact that she's going. I'm so excited for her to just get out and experience the world or whatever. I'm just scared that Australia is just becoming the new Ireland. And you're going to Australia to go to the pub with Irish people.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same as going to Gibbs, but it's just a bit sunnier.
Yeah.
And you can do it on the beach if you want.
Yeah.
So that's just the only fear about Australia. I probably will end up there at some stage. But
I think we all will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which whether it's a good thing or not, but I think you do need to leave. I think it's not going to Australia though, just because that is becoming the norm.
It's too easy almost.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I'm heading over in April for a month. My cousin's getting married over. My cousin lives over there. And so like if I'm going to go over, I might as well go for a few weeks. Go explore, see what it's like. Because like I've lived away. I'm quite happy in Ireland. You know, I enjoy it here. It's easy living. Like it's very, very relaxed. People laugh at me when I say Malahide is the best place in the world. Like I love it here. The beach, everything we have, the facilities.
We're very lucky.
We're blessed. Like, but Australia, like, are you really pushing yourself outside your comfort zone if you're just going to hang around with a fella that lives in the estate next to you when you go over to Australia? It's just the same thing but different. And people have this idea, oh, if I get to Oz, my life will be changed. Your life's still going to be difficult. You're still going to have problems. Like, it's not going to just magically disappear, but you're just in Australia.
You're just a bit sunnier.
Yeah. And
there's red all the time.
But I don't know, like it seems like a nice place. And I think Irish people really do long for the nice weather as well. And English speaking country, of course, that makes things easier for getting a job and you can earn good money. So Australia is always and like maybe people's parents have gone over. Like my dad went over when he was younger. So it's an obvious kind of choice, but throwing yourself somewhere like Slovakia or something is a bit mad.
Great.
You know, somewhere going to Eastern Europe or going over to South America and living there for a while, like traveling and living are two very different things. But that's real uncomfortable. And some people don't want to go that deep, you know, like even Amsterdam, it's not that, it's an hour flight away. Everyone speaks English, but it's a different culture. It's a different life, you know, that they live. But I do think Australia is good, but I don't know, for some people, I think it would only exacerbate their problems as well.
Yeah.
You know?
I do think, again, I think the fact that it is so far away makes people think that, oh, it's completely new. We're starting something. Because, again, it's 30 hours to get there. You're not close.
It's a day.
Like. And like, even I say, like, obviously I'm only like 6 hours, let's say, in time difference, but it takes me a day to get home. And it's like, there's so much that can go on. Like, in that 12 hours or whatever, 15 hours that you're on that flight to the US, you're alone. You don't really speak to anyone. Like, I just journal, like, on the flight. I just write on the flight. Proper, like,
you have to lock in on the flight.
Yeah, and it's just like, again, I've grown so much just in those flights. Literally, I remember that, like, I've been very lucky. Like, there's been Irish guys that I've been with at every school. When I went over first, there's been a few times where I've traveled on my own, and you get like a bit emotional, like just on the flight, and it's just like you're looking out, like, especially when you leave Ireland and you see all the fields, and then it just goes to the water, and you're just there
back over the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's just it's very scary, but at the same time, I feel like I've grown so much from leaving, and not just from the process of leaving, but also the process of learning about yourself. And I do feel like it's necessary, especially for young guys now. They need to reinvent themselves because in no time you'll blink and you'll be 45 and you'll still do the same shit that you'd always done.
Yeah.
And you'll regret not trying it.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest fear in 50 years' time, saying, oh, I wish I'd done that. You know, I wish I had said hello to that person, or I wish I had moved to this country or tried this thing.
Done that job, whatever it is.
If it doesn't work out, like I always say, if it doesn't work out, it's not a failure, because you learned a skill, or you learned something that is going to benefit your life later down the line.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And people need to do that more, I think. People need to just say, like, I don't know this, I'm shit at this, but I'm going to just start. I'm going to do it anyway. And then figure it out along the way and be okay with being bad at something. Because I think people are very scared of that.
And I think even that whole point of being alone and that loneliness, that like putting yourself purposely in a lonely position will help you grow, and you'll spread out and have new friends and talk to new people and put yourself in maybe situations that you wouldn't have dreamed of a couple of years ago. Like just chatting to people, like I'd be chatting to everyone in the airport and everything.
Yeah, I've started doing that now.
Flat out. I was finishing my degree in May, had some exams, went over to Amsterdam for 3 weeks, and I said to myself, I was like, I'm not going to wear headphones or earphones for the whole trip.
Love it.
Right? Just a random thing, because you just stay in your own little world. You're not very approachable. And especially older people love to chat. Young people don't really talk to people, like talk to strangers anymore. Fair enough.
It's great crack though, isn't it?
But it is so much fun. Like, and one of the things that made me realize it was a good decision, I was on the flight. So get the flight over to Amsterdam, and I'm chatting to this lady because they wouldn't let us bring a coffee onto the shuttle bus to go to the other gate. What? Like, I'm not a child. I'm not going to spill the coffee. No, whatever. Go sit down, finish my coffee, sitting beside another lady who's in the same boat. Just start chatting away to her, right? And I was like, because I'm no headphones, I'm like, I'm going to make the most of this. Start chatting away to her, 3 minutes, finish the coffee, boom. Get on the flight, and I'm sitting in the middle seat. There's a fella, he's maybe 50 or 60, American guy, sitting on the aisle seat.
They're great.
So much fun. They're full of life, right? And I'm sitting there, and the window seat's free. So I'm like, oh, like I was one of the last people boarding. I was like, we could be in the money here. Could have a free seat. That's always a good feeling. Yeah. And I said to him, I was like, I was one of the last people. Yeah, I reckon this might be free. And they close the door, boarding's finished, grand. I move over to the window, and I have no headphones. Get the journal out. You have to. Me and James were talking about when we were coming back from Malaga. We were getting to the airport, and I don't know. I didn't know everyone did this, but when I get on a flight, it's journal or laptop out, and you're just there reflecting on the trip that you've had or planning for the next week, whatever it is. That because there's nothing else to do. There's no distractions other than looking at photos on your phone.
Deleting the photos.
Yeah,
I always like that. Yeah. And emails.
Yeah, and James said to me, we were going to the airport. He was like, "Magic." He's like, "You ready to lock in?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You're going to lock in on the flight?" And I was like, well, "Yeah, of course." I was like, "Get the journal out." And he was like, "Yeah, man, you have to do it. You have to reflect, plan, all this." I was like, "Do you do that as well?" There must just be a universal lad thing. It's like,
I don't think it is. It's just us weirdos.
But I was laughing, and I was like, that's so true, because it's space for yourself to think, and there's no distractions, and it's not very comfortable, but you make do anyway. And as we were getting closer, bored, and I was like, James, I was like, if somebody beside me has a journal, I'm going to eat that thing. I'm just going to start demolishing their journal. And we were just laughing, but it's funny that you say that as well. But throwing yourself into those positions, and even on that flight, was just journaling away, and the fella sitting beside me, and I'm in the window, so I'm kind of glancing over, writing like this, and he whips out a deck of cards, a fresh deck of cards, right? And I was like, that's a bit mad. I was like, deck of cards? Old American guy, deck of cards. Like, who carries decks of cards around with them? That's an interesting one. I could kill a card game right now. Maybe pull the table out.
Snap or something.
Yeah, I'm up for that, and because the way I was sitting and carrying myself and chatting to him, he probably would have thought, oh, this kid will play cards with me. Magician.
Yes.
He whips out the cards and he goes, do you want to see some magic tricks?
Yes.
40 minutes, right, on the plane, and he's just banging out magic tricks. And I'm like, this is real magic though. This isn't sleight of hand. And he's like, this is real magic. And that's what he does for a living. And he was traveling a bit. He's going to Amsterdam and then Brussels. His wife was sitting in the other aisle seat, which is so funny, I think. I don't want to sit beside you, but I'll sit beside you kind of thing. And he was just doing loads of magic tricks. And I had such a buzz just chatting away to him. He goes to all these conventions and everything. But if I had my headphones on, I wouldn't have experienced that. Wow. I wouldn't have been open. Maybe maybe it would have happened, but maybe he'd be less inclined to take the deck of cards out and see, oh, this kid will want to see some magic. I was like a kid sitting there. I was like, do another one, do another one. But, and then for the whole trip, every time I was on the tram, every time I was cycling, cool stuff kept happening. And I was like, this is a life hack. No headphones, no headphone challenge. You know, no music, nothing.
It's funny that you say that. And I think that's because, like, yes, you've probably grown a lot as a person, but you also have this, like, energy and this aura around you, right? The aura, like the big man.
Yeah.
When we were up Sugarloaf yesterday,
it
was the same thing. Because, like, if you're going up to Sugarloaf at 6 a.m, it was freezing as well, by the way. You're a certain type of person. So whoever you meet on the way up or on the way down, they're also the similar type of person. So it's, how's it going? Happy New Year, da-da-da. And me and my mate, like, smiles, like, you're buzzing up. You come down, like, your legs are in bits, but you're buzzing.
Yeah.
Went for breakfast or whatever. And, like, we just walked past a guy. We having a good laugh. We were having a good time. And the guy who's never met him before, hey guys, how's it going? We're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then when we got in the car, we're like, that's because we were smiling. We were having a good time. We were communicating with people. We were nice to the waiters. It's just like, there was just almost like this energy that we had that you would never have got if you hadn't have said, yeah, let me just be different and not put the headphones in.
Yeah.
You put the headphones in, you're closed. You're in your own space. And guys are scared to do that. Guys are scared to just say hello to a random person. And I think you learn so much and you meet so many, you could tell a lie. If you really didn't want to tell someone that, you could say, I'm a magician too. I just don't have any cards with me, so I can't show you.
Yeah.
And then it just starts a little story, whatever. And it's almost like just, you have to step outside your comfort zone to learn that not everyone is out to get you. Not everyone is an op like Pomartic and Malahide.
Yeah.
We actually
I like his now. I like his. They're all right now.
Well, again, I'm kind of like an expat, so I just come in and out, like. But I love that. I think the flight to the US may be a bit of a stretch because I think there is a period of time where I need a few tunes.
That's a lot of card tricks.
I think the internal flight, it's only about an hour and a half. That might be a cool little thing to try.
Yeah.
No earphones.
It's just, and I think even to touch back into like the whole masculinity and that gives you confidence. Chatting to people gives you confidence. And whenever, like, a couple young lads that I'd be chatting to are people the same age and they wouldn't be as confident as me. Like, I'm very outwardly confident and inwardly as well. But like, I'll just chat away to everyone with a smile on my face like that. And people will gravitate towards me sometimes, like that fella on the flight. And he'll be like, oh, he looks like a happy chappy. I'm going to go show him a few card tricks. But I think developing that skill, and it is just reps. And every now and then you might say good morning to someone on a hike and they say nothing back. And you go, well, good morning. And you're just still like, well, good morning. Yeah. You know, you're not like, what's his problem? I'm not saying, you'll say good morning to the next person.
Yeah.
You might get rejected every now and then, but it gives you that confidence in your own ability to kind of shine a little bit and talk to people. And you need that. And as a young guy, if you don't practice that or have it from a young age, like, I've always been like that because my brothers, I know everyone, my dad's very, like, my dad's a taxi man, my mom's a hairdresser. They both talk for a living, you know? So when I don't stop rambling to people, they're like, oh, that makes sense. You talk to a wall. Yeah. That's just the way I'm brought up. But if I wasn't and I wanted to have those kind of qualities, you can practice it. You can learn to be confident. You know, it is a skill. Confidence is a skill. It's just repetition and anything. But like that, if you don't put yourself in the positions where you're able to practice, if you walk around with your headphones on, with your shoulders down and head down and scared to interact with the world, you're never going to have those opportunities to practice. And even something, I love the Happy New Year and Happy Christmas greetings because they're just such an easy in. You know? Happy New Year to everyone, you know? And even when we're out, like...
When do you stop though? Is it like the 4th?
Oh, I'm done now.
You're done?
Now. Yeah, no, done.
Now it's just good morning.
Yeah, story. But like, even if you're out for a run or say a hike or whatever, saying something like that, good morning. And Irish people are great at it, generally. Some people, they're like, what's, like, I think rural areas there, everyone's you know, everyone.
Definitely.
But in cities, like in the Netherlands, I remember I said to some old Dutch guy, I was just walking by and like that, I was going down for a swim or something in my bare feet, like, And he was sort of looking at me, who's this weirdo? Who's this like just creep? And I said, good morning. He was looking at me, he said, oh, hi, good morning. And he stopped and he goes, do I know you? And I was like, no, but good morning. And he was like, okay. I was like, see ya. Yeah, have a good one. I'm having a good one. You have a good one, you know? But some people you're always going to, and Dutch people would maybe be less open like that, but it is just something you can practice. And I say to people, if you're not very confident and you're scared of chatting to people, whether it's scared of chatting to girls or just scared of chatting to people in general and open new conversations, if you talk to old people, they will always talk to you. So if you're on the bus,
flirt with the grannies.
Of course, man. Of course, it's practice, right? But if you're sitting on a bus, like a granny's never have Instagram love. A granny's not going to sit there listening to a podcast with her headphones on. That's never going to happen. She might have a paper. Older people are just happy to just let time pass as well. But they want to chat to you like the good old days. So if you just say, and there's so many easy conversation starters. The weather. Happy New Year. Yeah. There's so many little simple things. And you can gauge whether they want to talk to you or not. And that's a skill as well. Picking up on those kind of subtle clues. If they shy away a little bit or they're like, oh yeah, good morning. And they can put their head in. They don't want to talk to you. Then that's fine. Chat to the next person. But if you want to practice and have a higher success rate of chatting to people, go chat to a granny or an old man. Just ask them a question. And people love talking about themselves. So if you see something interesting about a granny, you say, oh, she might have a scarf or something on. Oh, that's a lovely scarf. She go, oh yeah, my grandson got it for me for Christmas. And you're just in. She's just your mate now. She'll just start chatting to you, and it's so easy. But it is just practice, and people are so scared of it. Yeah, and that's why it feeds into why people are so lonely, because we're not talking to anyone. Yeah, we're not sitting on the bus and chatting to a young fella beside you because he might be from Swords, not from Malahide. We have. It's stupid. We're all grown now. You know, we're 23. Just chat to everybody. I love it. And sometimes I'll be late for stuff. Oh, sorry, I got chatting to some fella. You know, who was he? No idea. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, but like, what else would I be doing?
I love that. Like, and I do find that where I am, especially in the States, it is hard. I see the same people every single day, and I noticed that for some reason in college, it's head down kind of thing.
Everyone's busy, man. That's the thing as well.
Everyone's just moving, busy. And I'm the same. Like, I have so much to do, so I just kind of just run around, go to the library, run home, kind of thing. Just like flying around. But I do think, and personally, I love talking. Like, I love waffling. I'd love nothing more than to sit down and have a conversation about conspiracy theory. The lads hate it because I'll just be like, come on lads, let's watch this video on the pyramids or something. Yeah. They're like, what are you doing? Like, do you know what I mean? But just to have the conversation and to learn your opinion on this thing, or learn how your opinion is different than mine, and being able to hash it out in a way, it's just so liberating. It's so like, you just learn. And to me, I think that's the key to it all. It's like, you want to just learn as much as you can. And the only way you learn is by speaking to other people who know more than you. Yeah. And I noticed that, like going up the Sugarloaf yesterday, just chatting to these girls up there, they had this thing about this. They had a sausage dog. Yeah. And the dog climbed the mountain. Really? I don't understand how the legs are about that size. The poor child must have been destroyed after it. Anyway, just being able to like say good morning, hello, what's up, it gets you in. Yeah. And then you can ask them about their day, you can ask them about this and that. But it's taking that first step to be able to say, I can't speak to someone. Yeah. I genuinely do not know how to start a conversation with someone, or I don't even, like, let's say I don't know how to speak about my feelings. You need, and it's funny, you brought up like loneliness and being alone. I do think that there is a period of time that you need to be alone to really understand yourself. And like, for me, moving away was my period alone. I had the lads, I had my friends over there, but I felt extremely alone. And it was that period that allowed me to learn the most about myself. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to change this. I want to change this. I want to be more confident, be more outgoing, whatever. But it was only that period of loneliness, let's say, that I could learn those things about myself. Yeah. Whereas people nowadays are too caught up in their own shit, and they're caught up with what they have to do tomorrow, or, you know, what their friends think of them, or what their girlfriend tells them to do. that they never are alone, and they never have the time and space to think for themselves.
Who am I, kind of thing.
Who am I?
Yeah.
And you said the journalist. I love the journaling because you just speak. You're speaking to yourself. And I think that's the basis of, like, if you want to change. I think young guys need to be striving for something. It doesn't have to be a massive goal. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I want to be a billionaire. Like, monetary is kind of a bit silly, I think, but having some sort of mission or passion or drive towards something is so key. People always say, like, oh, I don't know how to find my passion. I don't know how to find whatever. It's like, you'd never know your passion at the start. And all you have to do is just spend some time on your own, learn about yourself, learn about who you are, what you like, who you spend the most time with. That's key as well. And then figure out what you want to change. And the process of altering the different aspects of you will eventually lead you down a path where you will figure out what you want to do and who you want to do it with. Because I think that's key. And that's something that I've really focused on the last 6 months, probably, is who I'm doing the cool shit with.
Yeah.
The goal is always to do cool shit with cool people.
Yeah.
And it just enhances everything when you have a good group of lads, especially because I think we need to start developing that. We need to start having people and guys who are okay with talking about themselves and talking about what they're going through. And I think the reason why I started the podcast and myself and Kieran done it was because we felt like that was kind of lacking, especially in the area. There's no one to say that it's all right to be feeling shit. And yeah, we had to get pretty vulnerable in the first few episodes, get them out of the way. And if someone wants to go back and listen to them, by all means do, and learn about me and all my troubles. But for us to be vulnerable and to say that to someone else who, again, me and Kieran weren't that close when we really started the podcast. We learned so much about each other. And that can be the exact same to the person you met on the bus.
Yeah.
They might speak to someone for the whole day. They might be extremely alone.
Yeah.
And you might be the only conversation that they have that day. I think that's fascinating, you know?
The effect you can have on someone's day is insane.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, when I was in Amsterdam first working there, it was all COVID lockdowns, etc. So we'd only have 2 people in the cafe at a time. And the amount of people that would come walk their dog, and then the only human interaction in real life that they would have was with me, right? I'm at the till taking their order, one of the lads making their coffee, and they've 2 minutes with me before their coffee's made and they're at their door. And
speed dating.
Yeah, speed dating with the world. I loved it because I'll chat away. I'll always have questions to ask them. I'll always have a story, or how's your dog getting on? How's this? You build those kind of relations with customers. But it was only when I was leaving after 3 years of being there, and we had a little going away party, people write me cards and everything, customers, which I just thought, oh yeah, they just come for a coffee and it's just a coffee and maybe a little bit of a chit chat. But a lot of people said, they were like, you made a lot of those like darker mornings or those darker times a lot better, you know, just with a smile and a bit of a stupid story or whatever I'd be saying, you know. And I was the only person they'd meet, and I'd feel bad almost. I'm like, oh, I'm the only person you meet. God bless you, you know, what, you unfortunate soul. But they enjoyed it because I'd have a bit of life about me, and maybe that would get them through the day. And they get a nice coffee as well. They get that kind of dopamine from both of those things. And especially when you're just going back, you're working from home and it's online and it's horrible out and you're just with your dog. And then you go down and you're like, do I have the head for Luke today? I don't know, maybe not today. But sometimes you're like, you know what, maybe I need a bit of Luke. And it's not just me. Maybe I need a bit of the barista to be nice to me, or, you know, a pretty girl in the shop, whatever it is. You just go, that little thing could just make your day. And you go, oh, you know what, today wasn't that bad. And then you're not so lonely anymore. But I think you touched on there having like lads groups and being able to actually communicate and just spend time and do cool shit with cool people. It's so important. Like, even last night, so 2 of the lads are back. So I'm basically in my group of 4. I'm the only one in Dublin now.
Wow.
Right? One of them's in Galway, 2 of them are in Amsterdam. So we did a bit of a switcheroo. Yeah. And I don't mind that. I've loads of other friends. I've loads of other people to chat to. I'm busy with work. I'm running around like a maniac. But I love when the lads are home. And the 2 of them are gone now today, back to Galway and Amsterdam. And we said, okay, one of the lads was sick all Christmas. He got the flu, like everyone else apparently. Yeah. And
like me.
I don't mind. And we said, let's do something. We have to do something before we go away. And we're like, what are we going to do? Because, you know, when you're 17, 18, you first get your license and you're like, we'll drive up the Howth, and you just kind of spend time with the lads, 4 lads in the car, and it's all cushy. Recreating those kind of feelings and those kind of nights where you're like, we didn't do much, but we had a great time. And you don't have to sit there and talk about your feelings, but you can just chat. And if something comes up, you can chat away to the lads about it, and you can tell them, and you can be open and honest with them. But like last night, we just went out to Donabate, lit a fire on the beach and listened to music. And we were there till 1 a.m. Dropped the lads home. And I just went home. I was like, what a way to spend the night.
That was
like,
great.
What a way. And it's so simple. Like so simple. Nothing crazy happened. Nothing out of the ordinary. But we were just sitting having fun. And stuff like that is so important. And like that fills my cup as such.
Yeah.
You know, then I don't feel lonely. Like the lads will be gone away. I'll see them. I'm going over to Amsterdam next week. And then after that, I probably won't see the lads for a good bit. But that fills me up. And then I can just go back and just go back to work and whatever. I don't have to worry about seeing the lads. You get your bit of the lads as such. And that kind of fills that's why I'm not lonely. I have them. I may not see them all the time, but I know that I can ring them if I need, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that. And I think that's one of the reasons. And like I spoke to James about it on that episode that we did. And like I have a really good circle of people around me and friends and colleagues and mentors, etc. So many different men that I can look at and go, he's really cool and I want to spend time with him and I'm proud that I'm his friend as such. But it's because I put myself in situations where these people are, and I'm also a good friend back. And you have to emulate what you want back from people. Like if you want love and respect and honest conversation, you have to give it to people. You know, you can't just expect, oh, I don't have any good friends, or like I should have good friends. Maybe you're not a good friend. And you need to take a look at yourself. Why were you ostracized from a group of 6 lads when you were 18 or whatever? Maybe you were the problem and you can change that, you know? Don't beat yourself up over it, but just work on yourself and be better. It's not rock science. And of course, different things happen and there's different reasons why people fall out and there's always bad people, but you have to kind of lead with the idea that most people are good, and whatever your interests are, there's people like you. Like there is people that are interested in what you're interested in. And you just need to kind of find them. And it's to find your tribe kind of thing. And like, say us, like we didn't know each other a year ago. Yeah. And we're not best friends by any means, but we're interested in similar things. Posting online and like personal development and growth and putting yourself in different situations. And now we're sitting having a chat. And I think that's beautiful. You know?
Absolutely.
People that you meet online.
I think that's the coolest thing ever.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And look at you, like you're from the same area as me, and say James is from up the road. Yeah. But I could meet someone from fucking Zimbabwe and I could just think he's the funniest fella in the world. But I met him online. He liked my Instagram post. I text him and he's just the most enthusiastic person ever. Yeah. That could happen. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's the power of social media. I think that's the power of the internet. The connection of it all. And it has its downsides as well. We're too connected almost. But if that's what you use it for, it can be really beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I realised, and you mentioned it there at the start, how if you want to attract these people, you have to become that person too. And you have to become the character. The key is the character who is the same among the group of people that you want to be around. Yeah. And I noticed that I wasn't the character just yet. So I worked on myself to be able to then get into the circles that I'm in now. And I'm so grateful, and I'm only starting. Like so many people that I've met just from post online, which again is another thing. Maybe you need to fucking post online just to get access, whatever. But I do think that the world that I'm in now, almost like personal development, masculinity, can seem somewhat frowned upon. And I do think the word masculinity has a negative connotation to it. Obviously, toxic masculinity is the thing, but I feel like the word toxic is kind of forgotten about, and it's kind of just implied that masculinity is toxic. What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree, and I think there's a lot of bad men out there that have big platforms and spread absolute nonsense. Like nonsense. And especially, I think one of the main realms that it gets caught in is people like men's relationship with women.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the women in the world would be the ones saying that's toxic masculinity, and then by definition masculinity is bad because there's these bad people that have terrible views about women and relationships and just gender shit. Like there's so much just nonsense out there, and it gets clicks, and then it gets shared, and then the incels, the red pill guys, they go, oh yeah, he's great, but they're not living in the real world. They're living online only. Like they don't go out and interact with people in the real world, in like the 3D physical world. Men and women get along so well. It's only online that you see this kind of bickering, and Twitter and Instagram comments. Like any interaction I have with a woman, it's generally positive. You know, it's just we're the same. We have different outlooks on different things. We have different experiences. Like we were saying earlier, like I don't know what it is to be a woman, so I don't talk about it. You know, but in general, like the online space just gets so bad, and I do understand that like you can take it too far on the masculinity front, but for the most part, for a young man, if you lean into your masculinity and do things that make you feel more manly and just have that kind of rage that like you feel like the testosterone almost raging through you, you will feel better. And then you'll able to be better. You'll able to have better interactions with the women as well. And I think a lot of women lean into their masculine side too much.
Yep.
And then they try compete with men on who can be the most masculine.
Yeah.
Whereas you're not really going to win that.
Well, I do think that maybe some men never experience that testosterone, that masculine side, because they're like told not to. They're told to, you need to talk about your feelings. You need to, you know, be nice. Like, I think there are, and me and Kieran spoke with this, I believe that you need to be in touch with both sides. So you need to be in touch with your masculine side to be able to be a man and be a leader and you know, be physically fit and just command respect from other men. But you also need to be in touch with your feminine side then to be able to have a relationship with a woman or be empathetic towards someone, like a man or a woman.
Yeah.
And if one or the other are lopsided, like if you're a man, and this is obviously for straight men, I don't know about the others.
Yeah.
But if you're too in touch with your feminine side, I feel like you may struggle to develop relationships with other men just because kind of like a pussy, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's not a bad thing, but I feel like there are sometimes when you do need to go to the gym and or hit a punching bag and like be like a strong male, masculine, and really feel it. Whereas I think maybe a lot of men are afraid to do that because of how the world will perceive them.
The label of it, yeah. And like that, like I think guys like doing guy shit. Yeah. And there's some things that girls just don't get. Like lighting a fire last night, like it's so much fun. Like we had an axe and we were just chopping up wood and doing that, we were all taking turns and we were slagging each other like, you swing the axe like a fucking Egypt, you know? But something like that where you're outside, you're doing things with your hands, you're sitting around a fire with the lads and you're just chatting away like that. We're such simple creatures. We don't need much. One of my favorite things is if you see a group of lads on a big green and they have anything you can throw or kick, they're so happy. Yeah. A frisbee. I am the happiest person in the world if somebody brings a frisbee. Or when you're with a couple of lads and just random people will come join in. They're like, can I play? There could be a language barrier there. You're like, oh yeah, can I play football? Everyone has to play football. Yeah. Stuff like that. And I think if you lean into that and spend time doing more guy things, and you should, because it makes you feel good. It gives you that dopamine. You're like, I'm with the boys. I'm hanging with the boys. That's so simple. And then it gives you the room to come home and be by yourself and then maybe actually think about your feelings a little bit more and have that more, I don't know, feminine nature to you when you're around other people, because you kind of got that out of the way. You got the stupid monkey man shit out of the way. So you're like, lovely, I can just be a normal, balanced human again. I don't have to go chopping wood, or don't have to go hitting a punching bag, or like even like a gym session with the lads. Like it's so simple. You're just there chatting away. But your shared activity, I think, is huge for men. Like we always want to be doing something, like the hike. You know, you're hiking up a mountain. I love hiking because I just think it's so funny. What's the goal? You get to the top and you go, sick. And then you go back down. That's it. It's so simple. We don't need much. It's just, it's in our nature to just go explore and spend time with each other. And like, I don't know what that is for women, you know, because some girls will look at that and go, oh, that's so cute. Like guys are so funny. They're such simple beings. They're like puppies, you know, they're just happy and they'll just frolic around and then it's all well and good. But I don't know what that is for girls. Like, is it sitting around having a cup of tea and a yap or getting ready for a night out together? Like, I'm sure they have all their little different things that they go, oh, this is girls being girls. And I love that. I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy when a woman feels like she can just be a woman and not have to worry about things. She can just go, lovely, I'm having a good time here. This is what I feel like I want to do. And if we just, guys do their guy shit with their boys, girls do their girl shit with the girls, and then come together and we can all be friends and do shared stuff. And it's simple, but there's so many arguments about it, and like women in male roles and stuff, all this, and it's like girls doing men jobs and blue jobs, all this. Like TikTok, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, if I have a wife, I'm going to take the bins out, you know? It's just a blue job. If the windows need cleaning, I'll clean the windows because I don't want her up on a ladder to fall off or something. If I fall off a ladder, I'll be grand, you know? But you do kind of...
It's a good role.
It is just your role. And I think people are happiest when they lean into their natural roles, and you feel better. As a man, you feel better providing for a woman. You feel better picking up the bill. Like the amount of girls that I've heard that fellas actually take them out on a date and ask them to pay. That's insane.
No.
Honestly, they're like, yeah, we're going Dutch or whatever.
Like,
yeah. What are you talking about?
But is that just old school? Because I'd be the same. It's obviously the first date, like you pay the bill.
Yeah.
And then you can decide on what's the plan. The best is, it's like you get the food and then maybe later on you get the snacks. The other one gets the snacks. Yeah. So then it's like, okay, fair, you actually want to be here.
Because then you can feel like you can provide. And like if a girl, say you do go on a dinner date or whatever, and a girl offers to pay, I always think it's nice. It's a nice gesture. She might be offering to pay,
it's like
nothing in her purse. Like nothing in her purse. But don't worry, babes, I got it. Like it's all good. But
you should take me on a date.
If you were prettier, maybe I would. But I'd say to her, like, oh yeah, we'll go to a cocktail bar. You can grab a cocktail. Yeah. And then they feel happy with that as well. And you're like, I'll probably pay for the cocktail anyway as well. But like I like that kind of providing, and it makes me feel good. It's not a selfless act. I feel like lovely. I feel more in my masculine kind of essence then. I'm like, I'm taking care of the woman. But I also think I think a good rule is whoever asks for the date should pay. So if a girl texts me tomorrow and says, Luke, I think you're gorgeous and I love your podcast with Dara, and I was just wondering if maybe you wanted to grab a coffee, I'd go, sure, whatever. And then if she said she wanted to pay, I'd go, well, I guess it's your day. Yeah. It was your idea. You can pay if you want. I'm happy to pay. I have enough money for myself.
Go on, bro.
But stuff like that, like, and I think that's a good way. And even in relationships, like as those kind of first dates fizzle out and the spark goes maybe a bit, it's nice if your girlfriend says, you know what, I'm going to take you to a hotel, or I'm going to take you out for dinner. And you go, what? And they're like, yeah, I'll get it. Yeah, okay, sweet. We'll have a day on you then. Lovely. That's perfect. But then that's also further down the line. But like the amount of guys.
I actually didn't know what an incel was until a couple of months ago. Kieran told me about it. He was like, do you know what an incel is? I was like, no. And then when he explained what they actually are and who they are, I was like, there's millions of them. And that's a bad thing in itself, that men feel scared. And obviously the black pill and the red pill, all them pills.
What are people talking about pills for?
It's just like, you know, you're so focused on self-development that you cut out speaking to women and all this type of stuff. It's like, wow, like you're neglecting so much of life.
Yeah.
To focus on going
like
to the
crypto,
gym and
like what are you talking about? You're talking about meme coins.
Yeah. But I do feel like, again, like men are scared of women because of, it's like a double-edged sword. I notice this when it comes to like the gym and approaching a girl, just approaching a girl in general, let's say, the men are scared to approach the girl because of the girl thinking that he's a creep. So they don't approach.
That's those incels.
But then the girls won't approach either, but are expecting the man to come approach them. So it's like this double-edged sword of the man won't approach, the girl expects the man to approach.
Yeah.
And then that's why there's no going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you know incel is involuntarily celibate? That's the word, right? So incel comes from involuntarily celibate. So it's even if you tried to get girls, you couldn't. And I think people that are critical of incels made this word, right? Which is fair enough because it's like
that makes sense.
You're such a creep that even if you wanted to get girls, you couldn't. So you just say that you don't want to, right? But you made a good point there. Like some of the most fun that you can have is with a woman, and I'm not talking sex. I'm going out for a date or going out walking around town and having a woman. It's different energy compared to the lads and different perspective, and it's so much fun. And if you don't allow yourself that because you're focusing on
meme coins,
like, and you want to make a few quid, and then you think when you're rich you'll start worrying about girls. If you're 18 to 24 and you don't talk to a woman for 6 years, you're not going to be able to talk to women, like ever. You're always going to be the creepy rich old guy that made money off a frog face, you know. And people will know that. Oh, how'd you make your money? Yeah, I sold
Solano
Pepe.
XXX.
Like, what are you talking about? You know. But even like approaching girls and all, and I think dating is one of the most fascinating things ever. And I'll always ask girls, if I'm chat to a guy, I said it to you earlier, I was like, how are the girls? You know? I'll say that to a guy, but I will also say that to a girl. I'll be like, how are the boys treating you? I'm like, are you getting asked out on dates or like what's happening? And we were chatting about this with the lads yesterday. Do you think more people are in relationships or more people are single?
Single.
100%.
Absolutely.
I'd say it's at least 80-20.
Well, do you know what? Like, a lot of my friends are in relationships.
And the thing is, when one person in a relationship, it's two. Because they're both in a relationship. But like I said to the lads, I was like, one of the lads out of the four is in a relationship. And that means 3. So 75, obviously we're just 4. It's not a great sample group. But most people I speak to, I would say maybe 20 or 30% are in relationships. And I'd say maybe 20 or 30% aren't looking to date.
Yeah.
And that's guys and girls. And fair enough, if you're fresh out of a relationship or you're just don't have the head for it, I've been there as well. But there's, say, 30% or 40% of people that are wanting to date.
They're just not.
They're scared. They don't know what to do. And they'll download Tinder and just kind of passively go on it. And they're like, oh,
what do they do then? What do you think?
You have to go out in real life. Like there's no other option. And what I find is, because I'd be quite confident, if I see a pretty girl on a night out or whatever, I'll just go chat to her. Like at the end of the day, she's just a normal human. And she probably isn't getting spoken to as much as you think. Because guys are scared. And quite often, if you go up to a girl and you're just chill and nice and respectful and a little bit of confident, a little bit playful, they'll be like, geez, this guy's great. It's not about looks.
Yeah.
It's not about how tall you are. They don't know how much money you have. It's nothing. You just go chat to them and they love it. They absolutely love it because it's so rare. And now your chances of getting with a pretty girl and just in person are so much higher than before because nobody's talking to them. So there's no one else trying this. And so if you do it, and
so you're saying you're getting very lucky. Is that the case?
I'm not saying that. Not saying that.
Yeah.
But the more you talk to people, then the more success you're going to have as well.
Absolutely.
And there's a balancing act as well between, people say, oh, dating is like sales and it's just a numbers game. If you gamify it too much, it takes the fun out of it. Like, chat to a girl that you actually think is pretty. Don't just chat to her because you're lovely. Okay, if I knock on 100 doors, I'll get 3 solar sales. Like, it's not that simple. But you have to, I don't know, it's easy and it isn't that scary. And girls are scared of you as well. Not in a bad way, as in they're going to automatically think you're a creep, but they're nervous too. So you just have to kind of get them to get their guard down a bit, and then you can just interact as two normal people. And that's what the thing, like flirting with grannies, because you're not actually trying to get with the granny. Unless your name's Luke Mooney. But you're not trying to seal the deal and take them on a date. But
I think that should be the case with
practice.
every conversation that you have, though. It's not like, obviously, you're going on a night out or whatever, but I think your man James Smith always talks about this, how like you're not just asking them straight up like, are we leaving?
Yeah. Do you want to go back to the gaff?
You may get their number and then you may text them and then you may go on a date and then over time,
Yeah.
you might seal
And
the deal.
oftentimes you'll find out that you actually don't get along that much. But if you don't make that first step, then you're never going to know that.
Yeah.
And it is that simple. And you can always have that, like, with respect. If you go on a date with a girl, you have a good time, you go on another date, you're like, I actually don't like you. You have to tell her as well. I think that's, communication is really low, and people go on dates that don't want to date. I
don't
anyway.
like that. Yeah, I don't like that.
They're like, oh, I'll go on a date, but like, I don't really want to be dating. And you're like, what the fuck are you going on the date for? You know? It's like, we're wasting both of our time here. If you're not looking for anything, if you're not in the headspace to have a relationship or to even consider dating, like that middle ground, what are you going on one date for? Just don't do it. You know, it's like, oh, you're waiting for something spectacular. It's always work. It's always push and pull with these kind of things. And it is a team game. So I don't know. It's a weird world. And I think a lot of people aren't dating. And I think everyone should be dating. I think you should be out there more. And a lot of young guys, they're just passive and
just scared. They're just scared.
So scared.
Again, it all just ties it back up together. People are just scared of being different. Scared of being the opinions of others. And I really do think that needs to change. Like, I genuinely believe guys need to just put themselves out there a bit more. Speak. It doesn't necessarily have to be about your feelings all the time. I do think that's important. But just be able to speak to people and don't be an incel.
Yeah, don't be an incel.
And in fairness, I'm not an incel, but I do love working and I love being on my own, and I'm completely content being alone, which I think is probably the first step in being able to then be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because you're not filling voids.
You have to be happy with yourself before you start worrying about taking care of someone else. You know? It is like, you have to solve that first. And especially, I think, if you come out of a relationship and there's always that trauma and you have to rebuild almost, and you need that time. But once you kind of get that dialed down, it doesn't take 6 fucking years, you know? Just get that dialed down, and then you're able to, I think, if you're not able to like carve out a bit of time in your day to go on a date or text a girl or whatever, and you just have no time for women, you're doing something wrong. Like, it's one of the best things in the world. Chatting to girls is the best thing ever. It's just like, you don't know what's going to happen. Another person's at play here. They're a little bit less predictable than the lads. You already know the lads. They're always going to love you.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a game, and it's fun, and the rewards are amazing. The rewards are so high. The risk is almost nothing. If you go chat to a girl and she sacks you off,
you're not a weirdo.
Yeah,
you'll be grand.
Exactly. They're not gonna start going, he's a fucking weirdo. Get him out of the bar. Where's Angela? You know, it's I don't know. People are just so scared, and it is one of the more beautiful things in life, spending time with people of the opposite sex.
So how do you think, we'll close up because obviously we've been here for, I don't even know, too long. Like, in terms of a man, let's say, how do we create like a better man? A modern day 2025, how do we create a better man?
I think you have to go through some sort of hardship.
Yeah.
And luckily in our day and age, you get to choose what you want to do. So generally, most people's lives are very comfortable.
Yes. You
have a roof over your head, you live in a nice area, you've got your ma's car, whatever. Your dad's pickup truck. That's all well and good. Your baseline is covered, you know? So you need to kind of pick a struggle that you can work towards. And I was reading, what book was it? I was reading the Unabomber's Manifesto, right? Just out of interest. I'm not going to blow anyone up.
That's an interesting one.
Very interesting character, but he had a really good name for it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was basically just like the activities that we do to pretend we're struggling, you know? So it could be running a marathon. It could be going to the gym. It's kind of just stuff that you put yourself through to mimic that struggle of life and give you a bit of meaning. You need one of those, at least one. And whether it's physical or mental, it doesn't really matter. You need to be learning, always learning. Like, that's one thing that I've kind of realized now. Growing up in school, I was always working, in school, and doing something physical. Those 3 things, and then I'm very happy. If one of those things fall out, then the balance goes off. At the moment, I'm not really learning anything because my uni is done. I'm pretty busy with work and running, of course, but I want to reintroduce that and start learning more things, doing more courses, whatever it is. You need those three things. You need work, learning, and something physical, because you can't mentally operate well if you're not physically pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And the rewards you get from challenging yourself physically and whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a marathon. It doesn't have to be something I'd like. Something that you'd like to do and you think is cool. Whether that's padel, I don't really care. But pushing yourself and saying, I want to train for something, I want to have a goal for June, and going towards that, that's really important. And then other than that, I think socializing is huge. We're humans. We're pack animals. We want to chat to each other. And if you completely neglect that and you're just sitting on the computer all day, then you need to cop on. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled. You have to put down the phone every now and then. You have to put down the laptop and turn it off, because it's a void sometimes. It's such a void, and it's so addictive, and it's a trap.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need a bit of a mission, and if you don't know what that is, just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, dead right. I think I wrote this down last night, how the recipe for a good life is hard work, having fun, achieving big things, and failing a lot. And then obviously doing it with cool people.
Yeah.
If you have all those ticked off, you'll have a good life.
Yeah.
You'll achieve cool things. You'll win. You'll be successful. You'll fail a lot, because you don't become successful if you don't lose. You know, and you're going to do it all with cool people. You're going to have fun. And I think for me, building this brand, building the business, finishing college, I do a lot, but I'm still focusing on those 4 or 5 aspects. And in 70 years, if I can say, okay, every year I've done these 5 things, I'm going to look back and say, yeah, I had a pretty good life. And I think that's the goal. The end goal is always just to look back and say, yeah, I had a really good time.
I tried everything. Yeah. And Jesse, you know Jesse Itzler?
Yeah.
He has a good thing about, I think it's a misogi, it's called.
Okay.
It's like an ancient Japanese tradition where each year they'll try plan something in the calendar that's really difficult.
Sick.
So for him, he does one a year. He'll do 100-mile ultra marathon or whatever it is. And I think that's a good way, especially with the new year and going into the new year and just going, what's the difficult thing that I want to achieve this year? Just pick one. And whatever happens, if you get that done, then you can go, it was a good year. And I love that. I love that.
Love it.
You have to do something difficult. And yeah, I think we're after naming a good few things there. That if you...
We've got some great clips.
The recipe for a good life. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the people is... Having fun and the people are probably the 2 most important things, because the hard work is generally by yourself. And that's on yourself. And they're the lonely hours. They're the dark mornings, you know? But if you get those done, then you don't have to feel bad about enjoying yourself with the lads and taking the piss every now and then, you know? And having fun. Once you have that kind of ticked off, and even if you break it down to just a day, if you get up early, go for your swim, get all your work done, come 3-4 o'clock, you're free as a bird and you can feel good about yourself and go, you know what? I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
I guess we'll leave it there, man. That was a long one. But I think it was a good one. Good chat. Like, it was more so, again, I didn't want this to turn into like some sort of question answer situation. Just a chat. And I think people will listen to this and say, what are these two waffling about? But there are little nuggets in there that if you are really listening and you're attentive, you'll learn and you'll pick up. And thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I'm grateful to have you as a friend, even though we don't really see each other that often. But
I'll have to come to Iowa.
No, you don't need to. No, but yeah, thanks for coming on, and thanks to everyone who's listening.
100%.
Also, thank you to Dan and the studio.
Shout out Dan.
Shout out Dan.